Alrighty, so today I want to talk about the Festival of Battles, one of the most intimidating and difficult events within the game due to the sheer length of the fight. People like to say it is around like a 3-hour slugfest, but I think if you run the event properly and efficiently, it's going to take you a little bit closer to like 2.5 or so, but sometimes a bad run can go for a really long extended period of time. Now, one thing to mention with this is not going to be a strategy guide. I have something coming for that in the future. But in this video, I want to talk about some of the best characters that you can use. So maybe if you think you're up to the challenge, you can take some of these characters, put them on a team, and then go ahead and try them out in the event yourself. But if you were looking for something that's going to hold your hand a little bit more in terms of how to play, what you should be doing, the rotations you should be setting it up for that event, look forward to that video in the very near future. I'm still working on it, and I think it's going to end up being one of my better guides that I've ever done. So that is something to keep in mind. Now, with that being said, if you do find yourself enjoying this video and find it helpful, go ahead and leave a like down below, and also subscribe so that way you don't miss out on any of my Dokkan content. We are very close to 30,000 subscribers, and it cannot be done without you guys. So make sure you do all that stuff down below. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with today's video. And that is the best characters for the Festival of Battles. Now, this isn't going to be like any particular order in terms of like who we're going to be talking about first and last. Let's go ahead and talk about the quintessential characters that are going to be the main, in terms of like the main strategy for this event, the characters you're going to be using the most. And these are going to be the best characters for the fight. That is going to be Tech Super Vegito and then the Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta character. These are going to be the only characters in the Z Plus option. These are the two biggest contributors to the run. These are going to be your most important characters, ones that you need to be focusing on. Now, like I said, this is not for specific strategy or anything like that, but essentially these are two characters that you're going to be keeping on rotation at all times, and they are going to be extremely, extremely important for getting through those last phases. Specifically in terms of the Daima phase, this is like the best character in the game for that phase, in order to conserve the taunt that this character is going to bring to the table. The LR Super Saiyan 4s have the ability, when you fuse into Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, to counter super attacks, and that is extremely important, especially when you're fighting Glorio as well as Daima Super Saiyan Goku Mini. These characters, when they get countered by Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, take a ton of damage. So it is really important that you emphasize that these are the most important stacking characters on the team, and they just provide the most offense, which is a very essential point. I think we should probably pull up the Festival of Battles while we're here, but these are an essential character for the end of the fight, where things really get like they start ramping up, right? So if you guys have played this and tried it yourselves, you probably know that things start to become a little bit serious. Like it's very like kind of run of the mill for a really long time. But then you get to about, in my experience, about Vegito Blue or Super Saiyan 4 Goku. This is when the HP like really takes an increase, where you're not just going to be doing 1 to 2 turns for every fight. When you get up to about 400 million HP from full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku, this is where the offense is going to kick in for like importance. And by the time you get there, these two should be more than enough. And Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta especially, you guys are going to be fusing with him when you get to about this phase right here. So that is why they are so important to build up. They have the ability to scouter check every turn when you need to at will, and these are just really valuable characters for the fight. It does not get any better than these two. They are definitely in a tier of their own, just because of the simple things. It's the extra damage outside of just the super attacks. When we look at other characters on this list, right, you are a stacker. You stack, you stack, you stack, you stack. All of these characters stack, right? But what does this guy do that this guy doesn't? Counter supers. What does this guy do that this guy doesn't, right? Counter supers. You have a taunt and you counter. You have dodge nullification, right? So like that's a very different thing, and we'll be talking about them in a little bit. But that is sort of why I think these two are just so important and why they need to be on the top of the list at the Z plus range. And so that is really important here. So Goku and then Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta, these two are far and away number 1 and number 2 for the event, and that is going to be the Z plus tier. Now, the next character I want to talk about is going to be Super Saiyan 3 into Super Saiyan 4 Goku. He is highly ranked on this list because of his ability to stack, the support that he is providing, and the importance of him next to this character right here. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is definitely going to be receiving a ton of just colossal buffs, right? Just from the Super Saiyan 4 Goku, right? Like when we look especially towards the end, if we go to GT Heroes over here and we look at the links of these two characters, you are going to be getting access to a lot of stuff on top of the support that they are also providing. So if we pull this up right here, you guys can see just from links, we have 95% attack on top of the support that they are giving. So that is why this Goku is so important to the run, especially if you were trying to work through Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. In terms of the meta setup and the one that I'll be using in the guide, this is a very important rotation, the best rotation for Festival of Battles in the game, probably outside of running Vegito with another taunt and stuff like that. I think that is a very easy selection for me in terms of where I'm going to have him. I think this Super Saiyan 3 into Super Saiyan 4 Goku, what also is something that is really important, I think this is, again, I'll just give you some advice for free, if you will, here. The phase, I feel like maybe some of you who have not tried this event yet, you may be wondering, when do I transform into Super Saiyan 4 Goku? What you want to do is have him on the first turn or the third turn, right, or slot 7. And then once you get to turn 5 and you are fighting this Super Saiyan Trunks, this is when you transform, because Super Saiyan 4, the Great Ape Goku here is basically going to guaranteed take him out, right? So if we pull this guy up right here, this is what you're going to be looking for when you transform. You go into here, you're going to be getting that easy damage, the guaranteed crits, all of that fun stuff, the extra attack. He will always take out Goku, especially if you're doing, or Trunks, especially if you're doing multiple super attacks. So I think he's pretty good in terms of what you are looking for. I don't hate the character by any means in terms of running here. I think they are one of the elite options. Again, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is such an essential piece to the Festival of Battle setup that I think this guy is maybe in terms of kit may not be as impressive as these guys on turn 66, but what he is doing for this guy on turn 66, I think, is very important. So that's why I have them in the Z tier. But next up on the Z tier, I have Super Saiyan Gods, Super Saiyan Goku, and Vegeta. I'm sure this one's pretty self-explanatory, right? If we go to this category right here and we look at Super Saiyan, the Super Saiyan Gods right here, very simple stuff, right? Power Beyond Super Saiyan, the leader skill, I don't even know why I'm talking about it, doesn't matter. They have all of their stacking that they're doing, and they also have the ability to dodge, the action break. This is just such a good character for stacking. They have a very good link set, and this is going to be another rotation that you are running. I'll just, for the sake of a graphic here, I'll just show you what it's looking like. This is what your rotations are going to be looking like for a majority of the fight, right? So if you're a main rotation character, I think at minimum you are at the Z tier, right? Now, again, they do not have access to a super counter. They do not have access to a taunt. They are only doing their damage on their active skill and their super attack. So that is why they are not in Z+. They are more than capable of holding their own and elite in their respective tier. But I think the fact that you just have to be not careful with them, but you don't have access to that additional damage on top of the super attacks holds them back from being Z+, but they are still a very, very good character, right? There is no doubt to how good they are for the team. Again, action break, rainbow orb changing when you transform, very good link set for Super Gogeta or Super Vegito, Super Gogeta. This character just ends up working very well, and this is one of the best stacking units in the game for their offensive stacking, for their defensive stacking. They make things work very well. So that is why I have them in the Z tier. And let's move on to the next character who's going to be in the Z tier, and that is going to be our boy Super Saiyan Vegeta, aka Super Gogeta, from the 10-year anniversary. You are going to be spending most of your time with this character, in my opinion, as the Goku. Now, you're just looking to get this guy defensively capable enough to hold his own in the end of the run, right? That is really all this character is here for. In my opinion, the strategy that I devised with the community Discord and talking to a lot of people that have played the event a whole lot more than I have, this is sort of what we came up with, and the strategy that we devised is that you don't really need to worry about this character's attack. It doesn't hurt to build it every once in a while, or sometimes you'll need to tag over to get that extra damage that you need to get through a phase, but most of the time you are going to be in the Super Saiyan Goku portion of this and just stacking his defense, because the main role that this character is providing to the team is via the support feature that he is providing, especially when he is in Super Gogeta with his active skill. This is where, if you want to go all in, this is kind of the strategy you want to do. You fuse with this guy, and then you fuse with this guy, and then you can use his active skill and then the taunt with you. and then you're good to go, right? Because just go Vegito after stacking for 60 something turns, he is going to be more than capable of taking out AGL Super Gogeta at the end of, or in just really in 1 or 2 turns, just based off of that alone. So again, this guy's main role for the team is to stack defense, get to the point where he's not going to be dying to normals at the end, the damage reduction per Rainbow Orb when you fuse into Super Gogeta. He is going to be like your sort of damage amplifier to get through the last 2 phases, right? Sometimes, you know, things go wrong and you may have to use it in the Daima phase, but most of the time you are going to be safe and you just have to use it at the very end against Gogeta and Vegito. So that's really why he's up here. The ability to get that extra damage reduction, his active skill, the support that he is providing for all of these characters to look a lot better and do a lot more damage is why this guy is in Z tier. And then you also have to keep in mind that he is going to be the leader for the team, right? His leader skill is going to be the most beneficial to these characters here. So he is somebody that is going to be an elite option in terms of like who you are running. So in my opinion, those are the Z tier characters, right? These are like the core 5 that you need to be running. And then this is why I only have them. It's the rest of the characters are going to be in S or A because they are not like the core 6 lineup. This guy, I think, is the closest thing to the core 6 lineup. He is the closest to Z tier that I would put, but I'm going to put him down there because he is someone who can be replaced. So with this character here, we'll start with Kid Goku. This one is very easy. He does not need that much attention to be like extremely viable in this fight, where you can float him off and he's going to look damn impressive. In the strategy that I'm using for the festival battles that includes a few items, I think this guy is very, very good. He has the ability to stack offense, he stacks defense, he's doing 3 to 4 supers every time you see him if you get lucky, right? He has the chance to have the guaranteed dodge, and then his defense is deceptively high despite the number that it potentially could be. When in my run against Super Vegito, his number defensively doesn't look like the best, but you're thinking like, oh, he's going to die to a 7 million normal, and then his defense, again, is just deceptively high. Despite having like just a different setup, right? So if we go to Pure Saiyans here, you also have access to an easy active skill where you're going to get that extra key. You're only going to need 3 orbs to get his 12 key super attack, which is always nice. This guy is extremely, extremely good for the Festival of Battles, being able to stack on the unit super attack, which we're obviously not going to have. There's no Bulmas to bring in this event. So you're going to be permanently stacking here with this right here. Then we have basic damage reduction, and then we have an active skill here, which is going to give us extra key, extra attack and defense in battle, which is really nice. Then after we've done 7 super attacks, which is very, very easy to do, in the Festival of Battles, like if you're not getting there, I don't know what to tell you, right? But with that guard, with that damage reduction, with his ability to potentially evade all attacks, he is extremely valuable for the Festival of Battles. Now, is his link set the best? No. Nobody on the team has the innocence, right? Nobody. Unless you're bringing these guys, which really they're just not a Festival of Battles character, you're just not getting access to the innocence in this fight, right? It is what it is. That's not this Goku's strength. All in the Family, that one's a little easier. Saiyan Lineage and Fighter, those are very easy to get. Fierce Battle, right? But Incredible Adventure and Guidance of the Dragon Balls and the Innocence, say goodnight to those. So at the best, they're going to have 4 links here with somebody. And if you look at Infighter, even here, really anybody on the Festival of Battles team, you don't really see that here, right? Like there's really no TURs that we are running that have Infighter. So really, you're going to be looking at 3 out of 7 links majority of the time with this Kid Goku. But despite that, he still is going to hold his own and put in a ton of work. So that is why I am a huge fan of this character, how he operates. I think he is one of the best Festival of Battle units in the game. He is the closest thing to borderline Z. I'm going to put him in S just for the simple fact that I think he, in like the setup that we've talked about, can be replaced, right? He is not like an absolute mainstay that you must be running at all times. He can be replaced by like a Namek Goku, a Blue Goku and Vegeta, a Trunks and Vegeta, something like that. I think but he still is very, very good. You do not want to sleep on this character. So the next unit that I want to talk about for this is Trunks and Vegeta. Now, you may be thinking right now, Vilify, right? Vilify, the big guy, Ichigo man, Bleach man, whatever you want to say. These guys give stacking to everybody on the team. How can you not put them in Z+? Well, let me tell you. I think for the easiest and most consistent strategy, they just do not fit on the setup. Now, before I sound like a silly, let me just double check something here. If we go to this category down here, I'll get to a point even if they're not on it, but I believe, I just don't want to sound silly here, they are not on successors. So this means that they are not on the optimal team. And if you are going to use this character in this fight, you have to focus on them a whole lot. And that is taking away from potentially other characters. I think if you want to run this guy, this is because you want to run somebody like, I guess we'll put this guy up on the list too, but you want to run somebody like this, somebody like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta in the event, right? And that is okay. You want to run this guy so you can stack their defense. But again, I just think in terms of the most streamlined and easy setup in order to get this done, I don't think that they are a Z tier character. I think they're very replaceable in this event, and I think you're just taking away attention from other characters that could potentially use it and do more with it than Trunks and Vegeta in the fight. That isn't to say they're bad. If you're S tier in Festival of Battles, you are more than runnable. You can definitely operate with this character. Like if you're running this guy's team, you could easily use this character in that fight, and I don't really think there's any problem with that. But again, I just think they're better, these three are better in the fight, and they just don't require this slot one dependency where they always have to be supering, they have to be on rotation. And I just think that the 5% stacks are nice for these characters, but what's better for stacking for these characters is just holding back a little bit and getting those extra percentages on the super attack, right? So if we look at these two right here, what's better? A 5% stack? This is a bad example. We have to go in here, right? What's better? A 50% stack on super, or 10, 18 key supers from these guys while they're floating, right? That's going to take 20 more turns to do than just running these guys on rotation, right? I think it's nice, and for a character like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, where there's no way to stack the defense and things like that, I think that it's a decent option, but I just think that you have to do too much with Trunks and Vegeta to really warrant them being in that Z plus or the Z tier. If you want to argue them in the Z tier, I think that's fine, but I think they're really good for this event, but they just, they require a little too much attention for me to be like, yeah, this is good. Because you're never like mad that you got stacks in with this character or this character. And maybe potentially stacking them slower just so you can run these guys and get those stacks is just, I don't think it's the optimal way to run the team. So I hope that makes sense why I don't have them in the S or the Z tier, or the Z or the Z plus tier. If you want to put them up there, I think that's completely fine. But just in terms of what I'm going to recommend that you do, and the guide that you're going to be following if you are going to watch that video, it's going to be these 6 characters, and Trunks and Vegeta do not make that team. So just keep that in mind. But the next character I want to talk about is a tandem character with this Trunks and Vegeta. This is a very seamless way to run the Festival of Battles, and that is with this guy's setup right here. Goku and Vegeta are extremely powerful, and if you're running Trunks and Vegeta for the extra defensive stacks, they're going to be able to put up a ton of damage, and you're also going to have that Vegito active skill, which is going to do a ton of damage as well. So I think that they end up working out pretty well with their offensive stacking. And again, but the issue with them again is if you're going to run this character, you have to run them next to them, right? And I'll even put this guy right here, right? You have to run them next to with Trunks and Vegeta. They are Trunks and Vegeta locked because they do not stack their own defense. So that is why I have them right here. We'll just talk about these two at the same time. They have their offensive ways of building up, and this guy can look extremely impressive, but you have to be stacking them up. So that is something to keep in mind. I think for Festival of Battles, you're better off just sticking with traditional stacking characters rather than trying to do the cute version of stacking with Trunks and Vegeta, but that's just my opinion. If you disagree, completely okay, and you can tell me why in the comments. All feedback is appreciated, all arguments. I like listening to them. I like reading what you guys have to say. When I get things wrong, I like when you can correct me, but if you're listening to me as your primary source of information, then just trust me. I think you're better off. These characters are good, but I think there's a better setup. That's all I'm saying. So the next character I want to talk about is Kale and Caulifla. Kale and Caulifla, extremely good stacking character. They have access to a heal if you need it. I think that they are just extremely efficient in what they are trying to do. They fit under the fused fighter category. You can run them very well. I think they are a decent replacement for this guy if you do not have him. So I'll do something like this just to make it a little clearer. I think that the way that they build up is extremely fast. They have that dodge at the beginning. They work really, really well. I really like this character right here. So Kale and Caulifla, I think they work extremely well for Festival of Battles. I like them a ton. This EZA was exactly what it needed to be. A stacking character that gets up to some extremely good numbers right away. The problem with them, at least in my opinion, is the link set is a little bit wonky, and there's only so much you can do about that at times. It's just the way the game is designed. Where are Kale and Caulifla? Where are the two lovely ladies? There they are. Okay, so when we look at this stuff right here, right, we have not very many. This isn't going to be very common, right? This guaranteed additional super. When we look at fights against Tournament of Power, let's just go ahead and count these out. Who is in the Tournament of Power that is in this fight? So far, we're almost halfway through, and I haven't seen one. The first Tournament of Power ally, there's one enemy. There's one Tournament of Power enemy. 2, 3. These are in the same phase. So this is one phase here. So 2 phases so far. Tournament of Power, 3 right here, and that's it. So you're only fighting Tournament of Power a handful of times. Like less than 10% of the fight is going to be against those two, or against Tournament of Power allies, right, or enemies. So just keep that in mind. But again, their ability to greatly stack is just so good in here. And then if you transform into Kefla, you're going to be doing a ton of supers. We have a chance to dodge. We have orb changing, guaranteed additional supers, right? Support. But this, again, tournament participants isn't really much of what you're going to be looking at. Like if you're going to be running tournament participants, you want to put this guy on the team and this guy on the team as well. Like they'd be decent for it, but just keep that in mind. In terms of the Festival of Battles, I think that you would probably want to have them ran alongside each other, right? And then you would just have access to this anyway, because if we looked at right here, if we go back to Kale and Caulifla right here, it's funny that everybody like has universally called them Kale and Caulifla, but like, you know, it doesn't really make sense to call them that just because of alphabetical order, but I don't know, you guys know what I'm saying. So if you are going to run this rotation, I think it's fine, but the problem is bringing Hit does he does complicate things a bit in terms of like what you're looking for, like from a leader skill and stuff like that, because if you look at his categories here, you don't really have like a good U6. You could run them on like the Glorio team and the Tau team, but these are not really tournament participants, I guess, but these are not really festival hater teams. So it's like, I think he's good, but he is not really going to be on like the meta setup. So I think that's I'd probably set it up a little bit closer to something like this, just because I like Hit, but it's just a matter, I just don't think the teams that he has for the Festival of Battles is really going to be where you want it. I'm struggling. I think I'm just going to keep it like this. I feel like people are going to see Gogeta in A tier and just not be happy. So these are like the alternative section here. So let's go ahead and filter this out here, and then we will put some of these characters here that belong in the S tier like this, and then the A tier will look something like this. So we'll kind of briefly talk about these because this video is starting to get long. Namek Goku, very good rotation partner for like the Super Saiyan gods if you need them to. He can get defensively where he needs to be pretty early on, especially when you get up against those extreme class enemies, which are littered throughout this, right? This is not a Tournament of Power restriction. You're going to be fighting extreme class enemies. One right here, right? And we just got to keep scrolling. It doesn't take long. One right there, right? One right here, one right here. You guys get the idea. So you're going to be fighting extreme class enemies pretty often, and this Frieza or this Goku is going to be getting buffs. Broly, you're fighting against pure hybrid Saiyans for a good majority of the fight as well. So he has his damage reduction, he has his ability to stack, he works very well on the pure Saiyans team, and he's just going to fit in just fine for you. This Frieza right here, I also think is very good for this event as well, because against superclass enemies, he's going to be getting those buffs that he needs, and you are going to be fighting more superclass enemies. You get damage reduction, he has ability to stack, he has easy access to additional supers. He works out very well. I think this Gohan, I need to evaluate a little bit more, but I do like this Gohan. If we go to the movie heroes, let me just double check on his stackability, because it is possible that he is more of a Trunks and Vegeta merchant. I just need to double check. Yeah, no, so he does greatly stack his defense. Yeah, so he's going to work in both of these, and you don't need to run him necessarily alongside a specific setup. But again, he is not going to be fitting this main leader skill here. You probably want to run double tech Vegito in that case, and then some of these other characters are going to be losing access because he certainly is on Earth Protecting Heroes, right? If he's not on Earth Protecting Heroes, I don't understand how Dokkan works. Look at the name of this guy, Earth Protecting Flash. If he's not on this category, okay, he is. All right, just triple checking on that. So yeah, you probably want to run a double tech Vegito setup if you're going to do that, and I don't think that's optimal because you want more support, right? The idea for the Festival of Battles to me is you don't want to run through the double taunt. This guy serves as a taunt when he's countering supers, because his supers are 300 million damage, like base on the super, right? And obviously supers have a multiplier, so that's well over 1 billion damage, and you don't need an additional taunt when you can just have this guy's support. So this guy, his main role, stacking, and his value is going to be coming from orb changing, and then this guy's just good in long events, so I have to at least mention. So there we have it. The Festival of Battles units tier list. when it comes to honorable mentions and stuff like that, really just any character that has like some sort of stack potential, like Technical McGohan's a good example. Like if we just look down here, I just don't really see many characters that I'm running in here often. The Omega team is not built for that, right? Some people run Vegito Blue. I don't know why. He's in there at times, right? So you just kind of can see this Evolution Blue Vegeta can stack. This Glorio team, I guess, is okay because Glorio kind of makes up for not being like a 220 lead with his support. So that is sort of how we are going to operate. So again, let me know down below what you guys think of this. Have you tried the Festival of Battles yet? Have you beaten it? Have you beaten it with no items yet? Personally, my no item run was basically this setup with Namek Goku, and then when I went back for the guide, I used the same setup and I used Kid Goku instead. So there we go. Let's go ahead and shout out some members, and then we can get up on out of here. Okay, so as always, if you guys want to become a member for the channel down below and support me even further, I would greatly appreciate it. Obviously not required, but you do get early access to Zero to Hero episodes, a special icon next to your name in live streams, special access to emojis, and an exclusive role in the Discord server. Still working out perks for that. That will come with time, but for now, that is what you get, as well as a shout out at the end of every video, getting back into that habit, as you guys can see. So big shout outs to Cosmo, Darth Anguish, Van, Brian V, and Raudokun. Appreciate your guys' support. It means the world to me. And thank you all for watching this video and supporting as well. So if you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you were new so that way you don't miss out on any of my Dokkan content. Thank you guys as always for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.